For this video, you will see how to adjust the contrast as well as the tones in a photo. If we go over to the menu over here where the sliders are, and we see here is contrast, click on the slider. If you move it all the way to the left, the image becomes quite flat. There's less contrast, there is less difference between the different tones. If we go all the way to the right, it's high contrast, there's a much greater difference in the tones. If we go a little bit lower, we've got highlights, shadows, whites and blacks here. As well as we scroll down, we also have tonal curves, highlights, lights, darks and shadows as well. So what we could do if we want the overall image to be a little bit more contrast, we just put the slider up a bit like this. And then we can adjust these levels, so you can do your highlights. As you can see, it just affects the whitest parts of the image. So we could want them a little bit higher to make them stand out. Got the shadows, you can increase and lower the shadows if you don't want anything in the background too much. You might want a bit of foliage going on. These are the whites as well, so they're not quite, so if you put the whites all the way down, then you can see that the highlights can still be adjusted because they're the very tips of it. So we could put the whitenesses up. And then we can increase the blacks as well. These four here, highlights, shadows, whites and blacks, are basically the broken down parts of the contrast. Now if we go down here to the tonal curve, got highlights, lights, darks and shadows. You can see that it's doing the very specific parts. So there's the highlights, it's the lights of the whole image, and the darks and the shadows as well. That is how we adjust the contrast as well as the tones.